Imagine the sound of your ringtone when you receive a text message. This may be the most important message you receive all day. So important, you're willing to read the message while driving down the highway at 65 miles per hour in a 4,000-pound piece of metal. Now imagine blacking out. The next place you see yourself is laying in a hospital bed, surrounded by nurses, doctors. You actually have no idea how you even wound up there in the first place. That is until a visiting family member hands you your phone. You look down. You read the letter K. Now tell me, was it worth it? Many drivers dismiss the dangers of texting while driving, but it's actually a very alarming distraction which affects your cognitive, manual, and visual attention. I've done extensive research on this topic, and today I intend to reveal the truth behind distracted driving, from telling you about new enforced laws, very startling testimony, and unnerving statistics. The only way to really stop the safety crisis is to spread the word on the dangers of texting and driving, and today I hope to share my concern with all of you. I'll begin by stating that vision is the most important of our senses while we're driving on the road. Many drivers who insist that they can actually pay attention on the road while texting and driving are really missing 50% of road conditions. Now, texting while driving takes your eyes off the road for an average of 4.6 seconds, and at the speed of 55 miles per hour, that's actually the equivalent of driving down an entire football field blind. A study by Virginia Tech shows that the majority of crashes occur within only 3 seconds of distracted driving. So this is why the National Safety Council refers to distracted driving as inattention blindness. Inattention blindness affects your inability to respond to road conditions, and it's a leading factor in car crashes. So let's look at exactly what happens to your brain while texting and driving. The brain's process, which includes selecting, processing, encoding, storing, retrieving information, and then putting that information into action, is greatly affected when your brain is forced to multitask. MRI scans show that when you are concentrated on driving, the area of your brain that's lit up is focused on spatial awareness, whereas when you're texting, it's focused on language comprehension. So according to an article by the National Safety Council, whose website can be found on distracteddriving.ncs.org, when your brain is multitasking while driving, your performance is impaired when filtered information is not encoded into your working short-term memory. So your brain doesn't process critical information and alert you to potential hazards. The effect on the brain from multitasking when one texts and drives is actually compared to that of being impaired or intoxicated, and I looked at a study by Car and Driver, which was done in 2009, that measures the reaction time of two men while driving under regular conditions, while texting and driving under the legal limit of alcohol. Now, driving 70 miles per hour, a car normally travels 103 feet down the road. With that being said, when a 22-year-old man was tested for reaction time, he went 30 feet down the road, and while intoxicated, 15 feet. A 37-year-old man's reaction time was 40 feet down the road while texting and driving, and 7 feet down the road while intoxicated. So as you can see, no matter what the distraction stems from, distracted driving has a tremendous impact on the way that we operate motor vehicles on the road. At this point in the speech, you may be wanting to ask me how texting while driving compares to listening to music or talking to a passenger. So let me explain. First off, the brain basically works in overdrive to process information from a person who isn't physically present with you in the car. But the social expectation of waiting for someone to respond by phone is different because the passenger cannot actually see your responsibilities on the road firsthand. In terms of the radio, it has been proven through stimulator studies that listening to low-volume music does not significantly impact your visual or attention or your response time. The only thing about music that does distract us is when we're playing with the radio or changing songs on our iPod. And sadly enough, I have to admit to all of you that I was actually involved in a car accident with my boyfriend many years ago because I decided to grab his iPod while he was driving, and he lost focus of the road, and we crashed into an oncoming vehicle that was pulling out of a parking lot. Now, luckily, I can say that nobody was hurt, but I did feel like an idiot, and I learned a lot from the situation. So as you can see, we're all guilty on some level of distracted driving, but teenagers are actually have the highest percentage of distracted drivers, half of them admitting to texting while driving. Teens that text and drive actually spend 10% of their time weaving in and out of lanes, and believe it or not, this slows down their reaction time to that of a 70-year-old driver. Now, an undistracted driver fails to notice an event 3% of the time, but an adult who is distracted misses an event 13% of the time, whereas a teenager can miss an event if they are distracted 53% of the time. So this probably explains why teens are 4 times as likely to be involved in a crash than adults. Each year, 21% of fatal car crashes involving teenagers were the result of cell phone use. And sadly, the statistic is going up every year unless we do something to change it. So it's rather unfortunate that such a good, useful device that we're able to use contributes to killing members of our society. Testimonies of injured victims, deceased victims' family members, and even people who are responsible for killing or injuring people while texting and driving can be found online, and they are not easy to read. So allow me to quote the testimony of an unnamed young man who I found on AT&T.com. He writes, "I was on my way home. I had my girlfriend in the car, and I was texting as usual. I was looking up every couple of seconds like I always did, and I just hear a loud scream next to me. The next second I look up and I see a bicyclist in my windshield. When I got out of the car, he didn't have a pulse, he wasn't breathing, he wasn't alive. There are no words to describe the level of grief, the level of depression and self-hatred I was going through. I sent one stupid, meaningless text, LOL, and I killed a man." Texting while driving should no longer be someone's excuse for being involved in an accident, and fortunately, the U.S. law enforcement has realized that. Those who are willing to risk it all to text and drive should be aware that this now includes legal consequences. As of now, only 9 states do not have a complete ban on texting while driving. These include Arizona, Florida, Hawaii, Montana, New Mexico, Ohio, South Carolina, and South Dakota. In particular, Pennsylvania does prohibit texting while driving, and this law was signed by Governor Tom Corbett on November 9, 2011. It's categorized as primary, which means that an officer has the right to pull you over only based on seeing you text, but does not need to see you make any other violation. The fine for texting and driving in PA is currently $50. Strict law enforcement, as well as cooperation from drivers, has helped in saving lives all over the country. The Safe Transportation Research and Education Center at the University of California conducted a study in 2012 on the effects of law enforcement's ban on texting. According to their results, overall traffic deaths dropped 22%. Deaths blamed on drivers using cell phones has dropped 47%. And equally important, this resulted in less cell phone use on the road. So as you can see, it is possible for each individual to change their vehicle habits on the road, and now is your turn. This includes something as simple as silencing your phone, tucking it away in a glove compartment or a purse, or just move to the side of the road if need be. If you find yourself reaching for your phone while you're driving, stop yourself. If you pick up your phone to text while you're driving, just stop yourself. In fact, you can even put your smartphones to good use because they now have apps that reply automatically to text messages. Now, I ask you to be aware of the laws in your state. These can be found on drivinglaws.org. It is each driver's responsibility to be aware of every possible hazard on the road. Your life and other people's lives are in your hands. Stay alert, stay focused, keep your eyes on the road, not your phone. I ask that the next time you get behind the wheel, think of the importance of your life, your future, and those who want to see you succeed. Think of other human lives on the road. Think of the statistics. Think of this speech. Remember that all it takes is a mere few seconds to ruin the rest of your life, the rest of someone else's life, or ultimately end both. There is no message that cannot wait to be read. There is no message worth texting while driving. Save a life. Save your text for later.